Hi, guys. It's True Crime with Tiff Kline, giving criminals the disrespect they deserve. And we have a criminal today that I'm going to give much disrespect to. So today's my birthday, and I have some great news to share before I get into it. I've been lining people up on my podcast between now and the end of the summer, and the response I got is amazing. I am just blown away. Last week, I got to record Joanne Lowitzer for almost 2 hours talking about how her daughter, Allie, went missing. I learned so much more, and I just want answers for her. She comes to CrimeCon every year to raise awareness, to see. She has no leads. She has no information. And this happened in Spring, Texas of 2010. Her daughter just vanished. So if you want to check out that episode, that was last week. And I do have a GoFundMe up on my True Crime with Tiff Kline Facebook page to get funds raised for her and Maggie, the mother of Brittany Phillips, whose life was taken in 2004 in Oklahoma. They come to CrimeCon every year. They spend every dime they have to get there to raise awareness, and if you guys can check that out, I'd greatly appreciate it. But I also want to give a shout out to my friend Hope Hooten. Awesome stuff going on, guys. Hope Hooten has a podcast called Voices Against Filicide. And she also is known for Hope in the Pain on Instagram. Her children, Alec and Lydia's lives were unfortunately taken by their father. And she had a law passed in Arizona to protect other children with domestic violence situations in the court of law. And I just wanted to give her a huge, huge shout out, because she has taken her pain, taken her tragedy, taken every ounce of strength, every ounce of love she has for her kids, and turned it into helping other people. And that's what we're all doing, right? We're all trying to just make this world a better place. I am just so unbelievably proud of her. I've met Hope through CrimeCon with a group of other girls, and she's just amazing. I bought her book. I need to read it. She signed it for me. So I always want to support Hope. If you go to my Facebook pages, you'll see me promoting her. And again, Hope, congratulations on getting that law passed, because you're doing amazing things, unfortunately, with your own trauma. But what you're doing matters. And you're doing this so nobody else has to have the same horrors happen to them. So God bless you. Hope will be on my podcast. I'm actually recording with her this Saturday at noon. I don't do my podcasts live, so it will be pre-recorded. I'm going to try to do video. I don't do them often because it usually takes forever to pull the audio and my video messes up sometimes. But this is why I'm doing this one, because I need to work out some kinks. But the response I got when I put up last week, I would like people to be on my podcast, whether they're, nonprofit foundations, their advocacy programs, their domestic violence survivors and victims, families of lives who were taken by domestic violence, other podcasters, people in the true crime world. And I'm blown away with the response that I got. So I also have another project called Turning the Corner with Client's Corner, and it's more about the missing people, the advocacies, and raising awareness on other things, not just true crime. I'm going to be setting that podcast up, but that's something I've had in my back pocket for a while. And again, I'm already booked through August with recordings, and I'm going to go down a list and tell you who's coming up on my podcast. I have the dates on my phone, but I'm just going to give you some idea of who's coming on and what to look forward to. The past year, I've done a lot of solo episodes and had my friend Aspen on twice, and then Joanne Lowitzer. But I have a cast and crew coming up. So I just want to thank them all for giving me the opportunity to learn more about them and their mission and their goals, and to highlight the things that they're working on. But it's an honor to know every single one of them. And starting tomorrow night, I'm actually recording Candace Lowe. She's the family advocate of Lala Clark's family. Lala Clark went missing in my area, Wilkes-Barre, PA, in January of 2026. Her body was found in February 2026. Her aunt was taken into custody. Her aunt had a PFA. She was not allowed near Lala. And unfortunately, she took Lala's life. So Candace will be on my podcast tomorrow night. It will air over the weekend. There is a gag order coming up because of the court hearings. And until all that's over, Candace won't be allowed to talk about anything. So we'll do this episode and we'll go start to finish on what happened, how it happened, how this all got started up until today. And I've been in contact with Candace since day one, since January 16th, 2026. And I've been riding this journey with her, but she's going to be talking about everything she can that she's allowed to talk about that's not going to, interrupt the investigation. And she's going to be very cautious of that. So will I. And if you guys go back on my podcast, seasons 2, I did 3 episodes about Lala, and one was reading the 27-page affidavit word for word. I did have permission from Candace to do that. It is graphic, but they want the truth out there, so I did them that favor. But these are the ones I can confirm that I have scheduled. So again, I have Candace Lowe coming on tomorrow to talk about Lala Clark. I have Jazz from Missing in America. Danny After Dark. She's the true crime book club queen. I love Danny. Heather Lane, the sister of Caitlin Harp. Her twin sister's life was taken by domestic violence in my area, June of 2025. I just met her at an event we both spoke at for domestic violence. I did Joanne Lowitzer already, but I'm still going to try to get Anna Sullivan from Kitchen Table Research. She was supposed to be on with Joanne and I last week, but she had some personal issues going on, so I think her baby might be coming a little early. I was so amazed that she came to CrimeCon 8 months pregnant. I was, wow. Friend Melissa Velasquez, she's a domestic violence survivor. She's ready and open and ready to tell her story, and I am allowed to say her name. She gave me that permission. And she actually dealt with somebody that I dated a year or two before I met him, and the screenshots match up to mine. So that will be coming. But she has her own stories besides that she wants to talk about. Amy Belcher, a domestic violence survivor from Scranton. She contacted me wanting to be on my podcast. Again, I have her permission to say her name. Greg Schiller of Child Rescue Coalition. I met him at CrimeCon, and he's been following me, and it was a pleasure to meet him. So we set up a podcast for late July, and I'm looking forward to talking to him. He is cracking criminals left and right with tracking devices, busting people that are being predators to children. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. Excuse me. My friend Michelle from Florida, I met her at CrimeCon Denver, and she said she's ready to tell her story, and she trusts me and wants to be heard. And again, I have her permission, but she's ready to speak, and this will be her first time telling her story. Megan Gillette, Voices Unbroken, she hosted a domestic violence event in Scranton on June 15th that I spoke at. I met her years ago, never knew she was a victim and survivor, and she'll be on because we want to talk about how the event went, and she's going to tell her story as well. Again, Hope Hooten of Hope in the Pain and Voices of Filicide, amazing woman. She's going to be featured. And then I have 3 anonymous speakers who cannot say their names or locations due to safety. This is what happens when you're in domestic violence relationships, and they want to speak, they want to be heard. They just want to tell their story, and hopefully that it helps them and other people. So we will keep them anonymous, but they are going to be on an audio podcast. And I had recently just finished an episode 2 weeks ago about missing man Tyler Doyle of South Carolina. He went missing in 2023. His dad reached out to me and sent me all the information and the facts. I did a podcast, I made a video, and his dad was pleased with that. This was one of the big cases that went on in this country. I never heard of it. And just because I didn't, or that it happened 3 years ago, doesn't mean they don't need answers. It was ruled an accident, and the family doesn't agree with that. So I'm helping him look into that. Zachary Mallory, he reached out to me. He's a podcast host of Rise Above Justice Movement. We're going to be discussing topics of the LGBTQ+, domestic violence, sexual assault, gun violence, and navigating police. He comes from a line of survivors and working on getting a victim advocate credential. And I'm working behind the scenes with the mother of Adam Leisure, Farah Alwyn. She requested that I do this solo. She's giving me information behind the scenes. It's a big case. It wasn't properly investigated. She's pleading for my help. So I'm working on that in the background. And I told her it's going to be a little while, but I'm doing my best. I'm also going to have Nicole and Jemmy, pathologist, on my podcast. And I've been following Nicole, for a very long time. And I finally got to meet her at CrimeCon. And she's from Philly. And she saw my book. And I got to ask her, what was the weirdest thing you ever found in the human body? And she said it was a gift bag in somebody's stomach, like a birthday gift bag. And I was like, how? How does that even happen? So I'm excited to get her on because I need to know more to this story. of how someone's birthday gift bag gets in someone's stomach. She says they were cleaning it off and they didn't know what it was until it was like completely like clean. It was just like black sludge or something. So I'm looking forward to that. Cheryl McCollum, crime scene investigator, Hall of Fame. You may know her from Nancy Grace. You may know her from TikTok. You may know her from CrimeCon. And she just wrote a book, Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer. Amazing book. She spoke to a woman's father. Her name was Melissa Wolfenbarger, and her father was known as the Flint River Killer, and he needed her help to help solve his daughter's murder. So if you haven't read that book already, I highly recommend it. And she's going to be on my podcast, but she also, through mutual connections, a woman named Tina Patton, who is the sister of Melissa Wolfenbarger, the other daughter of the Flint River Killer, reached out to me wanting to tell her domestic violence story and also talk about Melissa's story. So that's coming up. I also have Dr. Priya Bandri coming on my podcast. She's a medical examiner. I cannot wait to pick her brain, no pun intended. I got to meet her briefly at CrimeCon Vegas in passing, giving each other stickers, and then that was it. So I'm looking forward to that. She's been a big supporter of mine. My dear friend, Aspen Connor. You guys might know Aspen. He's my partner in crime, no pun intended. And he's been on my podcast twice already. People keep asking him to come back. He sat in on the trial of Libby and Abby of the Delphi case of Indiana. He knows their families pretty well. And he just gave us a little bit of insight on who Abby and Libby were, who their families are, and some of the background of the trial. But we have a lot to do. We're going to do a podcast that talks about our time at CrimeCon and other projects that we're working on. And then today, my birthday, one of the sweetest women in the world got back to me on Facebook. And you guys may know her as Kimmy Morgan, the wife, the heart, the soul behind Joe Scott Morgan. He always gives her the credit's due. When I got to CrimeCon, Joseph Scott is my favorite. He's my favorite podcaster. He's in the entire industry. He's my favorite. I always tell people, if you don't like Joe Scott Morgan, which I've never heard anybody say, but if you don't like him, I'm going to judge your character very strongly. Like, if you don't like Joe Scott, there's something wrong with your character, because Joe Scott is the most humble, honest, compassionate, empathetic man I have ever met in my life. And he's just full of knowledge. He's a distinguished scholar. He is a forensic professor at Jack State University. He's done over 7,000 autopsies. He's on Nancy Grace all the time, News Nation, sometimes Court TV. And he does have a podcast called Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. I've met him twice in Denver and Vegas, and I talked to his wife a lot on Facebook. And Joe and I also exchange engagement, if you will, on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. And this year when I saw him again at CrimeCon, I wanted to introduce him to my mom. And he stops and he's like, Tiff Kline. And my mom said he looked like he lit up like he saw Santa. And he was so he made me feel special. And I was there to see him. You know what I mean? And it just shows that we're not numbers to these people. We're not just another follower or podcast listener, and they truly appreciate our help. You know, they call us couch detectives or online sleuths, but even Nancy Grace will say a lot of us have helped solve cases. So they thank us, and we're very loyal. We're very loyal to these people, and they're loyal to us. And I don't have words for this one, because I said this 3 years ago. I said, it's my goal to have Joe Scott Morgan, Cheryl McCollum, Nicole, and Gemi on my podcast, and Nancy Grace. I'm working on Nancy Grace. That might be another project off to the side that I can't talk about right now, but something that may come about because I talked to her assistant again in Vegas who I'd met in Denver. And her assistant in Denver took my phone last year and put her number in it. And she's like, here's my number, blah, blah, blah. So when I approached her this year, she's like, oh my God, that is my number. She's like, I'm sorry, I talked to a million people. And I'm like, no, it's okay. And I gave her a case that's going on in my local area, and she copied me on the email to Nancy Grace's producer, and he's looking into it. And that's all I'm going to say right now. So stay tuned for that. But, there's more people messaging me that want to be on my podcast just from this area, from all over. My friend Erica works in a prison, and she wants to anonymously talk about her experience working there. But we're not going to say where. We're not going to say what she does. We're not going to give any kind of clue on where she is, because we have to protect her too. Another woman I met through my friend Wendy, her name is Vicky. She's been messaging me because she wants to talk about her sister's murder from my area who would be 54 on July 3rd. And there's a documentary on YouTube called I Killed Her for $40, the horrific murder of Heather Stigolano. Her story was on Forensic Files, and there's one on Apple TV and Peacock. It's The Secrets of the Morgue, Season 2, The Beast and the Beauty on Peacock. Forensic Files, Season 2, Episode 13, Pressed for Crime. She's featured on that one. So they're right here from my area, and I'll be having her on my podcast. And there's more to come. Just trying to work out the timing to record everybody. Let me make sure I didn't forget anybody. Let me look in my phone. So we're looking at, I already said the 3 anonymous women. A girl I know from my area, Rebecca, she wants to tell her story of domestic violence. My friend, well, I can't say that name. There's a few other domestic violence survivors that want to talk on my podcast. I just can't name them. And I'm waiting to confirm like about 7 or 8 more, including Maggie, Brittany Phillips's mom, who does Caravan to Catch a Killer. She just completed her 25th trip when I saw her at CrimeCon, and she's driven 340,000 miles to help other people help find their missing loved ones and get answers to cold cases. There's possibility that 2 women named Holly and Candy will be on my podcast to talk about a missing woman from my area in Wilkes-Barre, Amy Jo O'Kaney. So we're waiting to confirm that. And a few others. So it's a good lineup, man. Like, I'm impressed. I am honored. I am humble. I appreciate this. And there's just going to be a lot of conversation, bringing awareness to a lot of things. And it's so cool to know people that work in this field, see horrific things every day. It's also an honor to talk to victims and survivors because I am one. Well, I'm a survivor. I don't like to call myself a victim, even though I'm still being victimized of a PFA that has been violated. But I'm a survivor of 2 abusive relationships. And I'm going to take the audio off the video that somebody recorded and turn it into a podcast once I get in touch with Megan. But this is amazing. And I'm booked literally like now until August, at least 1 or 2 a week. And I'm excited to meet every single one of these people. I mean, I've met most of them, but there's some I've never talked to before. And I always ask them permission to use their name in my advertising. If I can use their name on my podcast, if they want audio or video. So I really try to respect their wishes. But that's what's coming up, guys, on True Crime with Tiff Kline. So I'm sure we're going to be giving a lot of criminals the disrespect they deserve. And somebody else, Cindy, who is a family advocate for Jason Landry. You guys, I know who goes to CrimeCon. I know you all know who Jason Landry is. He went missing in Texas on December 13th, 2020. And there's been no tips, no leads, and he just vanished. So here's another one. Cindy's going to be on my podcast. We're going to be talking about him. And I'd rather get it straight from, like, if I can talk to advocates or family, I'd rather have them tell the story than me. Sometimes I just don't feel right telling the story. And I don't want to chance getting things mixed up. So if I have the opportunity to have them speak, that's what I've been doing. Other than that, I mean, we already talked about CrimeCon when I got back. Life's been a little hectic the past few weeks, but I finally got off training with my new insurance agent career. So I've been focusing on that, and there's going to be events coming up for that where you guys can come to free lunch and learns and learn more about pet insurance, home and auto insurance, life insurance, boat, motorcycle, ATV, pet, jewelry. I'm licensed in the state of Pennsylvania and Ohio. So if you listeners out there need shopping around, I can shop over 50 carriers, and all I do is send you a text. You fill it out. It takes 30 seconds. It sends me your current coverage, and I start shopping for you. It's free. It doesn't hurt to just try and see if I can save you some money, because we all know this economy sucks. So hit me up, DM me, email me, truecrimetiffkline@gmail.com, or DM me on Facebook or Instagram if you'd like me to shop for you. Again, I'm licensed in the state of Pennsylvania and Ohio. So if you're in either of those 2 states, I can help you. Again, I do pet insurance, jewelry, boat, ATV, RV, home, auto, motorcycle, renters, small business. I mean, if you can buy it, drink it, collect it, or pet it, I could probably insure it. So keep me in mind for your insurance needs. I would love to try to help you out. So let's get to it. So we're going to start backwards a little bit because I'm a little behind on my podcasts because I just have a lot going on. June 12th was the 32nd anniversary of the murder of Ron Goldman and Nicole Simpson. You guys remember that from June 12th, 1994. It was probably the biggest and first mass media true crime coverage story that the U.S. experience. I mean, the Menendez brothers was really the first, I want to say, but like OJ put this was like media frenzy. And then, you had John Bonet, and you had Lacey Peterson, and you had Casey Anthony, and you had Shanann Watts, and you had Gabby Petito. And it's just a line of mass media chaos. And so we want to look back on that. The media overshadowed who they actually were. And sometimes, you got to strip away the sensationalism and remember who the victims were. And Nicole and Ron were more than just a headline on a tabloid that were murdered in California on a June night. Nicole was more than O.J. Simpson's ex-wife. And I did read his book, If I Did It. And I know for some, this could be a very sensitive subject. I read it all in one day. And I said, Rome wasn't built in a day. But I read that book in one day. And what's weird about it is I have had it for almost 2 years, and I just couldn't get past like the first chapter. I would get distracted, or it wasn't getting my attention enough to be able to focus. And then one day I said, what, that's it. I'm reading this book. I'm reading it today. And I did. And it was June 13th that I actually did that. So the day after Nicole and Rod were murdered. And, the whole book is hypothetical if he did it. And he gives his side and says, this is what she did, vice versa. And, we never really got Nicole's side, and never, please don't put words in my mouth. Never have I ever said that she was an abuser. Never have I ever said that she just abused him for no reason. However, I'm an honest person, and I will say what I think. And I think she had reactive abuse, because I went through it. You get pushed to a boiling point, and you're gaslit and manipulated so much that you literally go nuts. And you have all this anger and rage, and you don't know what else to do. So when you're with an abuser, you pick up language, body language, words, tactics, tools, and you stick them all in your back pocket, and you learn to beat them at their own game. I had made a comment, and I apologized to the person that offended, that I said I think Nicole was an abuser as well, but I didn't mean in a way where she was just abusive to be abusive, and she did not deserve it. No matter what she did, no one's life is worth taking. I was relating it to my own personal reactive abuse, understanding where it comes from, why people act out the way they do. If he said the way she acted is the truth, and we all know it's probably 99.9% bullshit. But let's just say hypothetically, like he does, that her reactions to him, I'm going to go ahead and say reactive abuse, not abusive towards him, but just reactive abuse. She knew how to trigger him. She knew how to push his buttons probably. And it seemed a little bit that they were both using the kids as pawns, if what he's saying is true. And I don't think what he's saying is true, but I'm trying to create this hypothetical version like he did in the book of, okay, he's saying this, but let's not say she's just like this. Let's explain the other side, which was what I was trying to do, on why she's probably acting this way. Not because she's a malicious person, not because she's an abuser, not because she is just a bad person. She got, hypothetically, because I've lived it, pushed to a point where you can't think if you want to wear red or blue. You can't decide if you should do the dishes or stay in bed. You don't know how to cash a check because your brain is so mush that your emotions just take over. And that's where I was getting at. I became a person I didn't recognize. I'm sure she did too. And even her close friends and family said they didn't recognize her. And I became verbally abusive. I became like always trying to beat somebody at their game because it was a survival skill. I didn't do it to be a bad person, to be a narcissist, to be an abuser. I did it as survival. And that's my intent behind what I said. If she did do anything intentional, it was love her kids and try to move on with their life. But if she did what he said she did, I'm never saying that she did it just to be a bad person. She did it because she was pushed to a point where her body, mind, and soul just probably couldn't take anymore and reacted out of rage, fear, sadness, trauma, anger, confusion, emptiness. And no, it's no excuse to take her life. So I do want to apologize to that person that was not my intent behind my comment. But I do think talking about reactive abuse is just as important as talking about abuse, because when you're in it and you don't recognize yourself, you can't eat, you can't sleep. I think I lost like 80 pounds in like 5 or 6 months because I didn't eat. My nerves were shot. I was constantly shaking. Thank God I worked for myself because I could just lay in bed all day. And I would just become so mean and angry and irritable and just vulgar with my mouth. Like, And he would hurt me and then I would have to hurt him back. Like, and I don't want to be that person. I don't like to be that person, but if you push me far enough, I become that person. But I give you years of warning. Don't poke the bear, don't poke the bear, don't poke the bear. And then what do? You get a electric prod and you poke the bear and then I bite and then I'm the problem. No, I can only take so much as a human. Our brains and our bodies and our nervous system can only take so much as a human. So if she reacted in ways that weren't favorable to him, it was reactive abuse. But I think down deep inside, I think she did love him. And I do think that, well, I don't know. I wasn't there. There is a trauma bond there. But I'm incredibly sorry for the things that happened to her and Ron, and for someone taking my intent and my perspective on it out of context, because I never put shame or blame on a victim. So I just wanted to say that. But reactive abuse is a thing. It's real. And it needs to be talked about, because when you're doing it, you might feel like you're going insane. Like you don't know yourself. And people are just like, you're not who you used to be. And you feel like it's like an out-of-body experience, like you disassociate. But looking back, like I can remember acting certain ways and doing certain things just to piss him off, because it was just all this pent up. I mean, I'm talking about my ex from 2009 to 2018. It was just all this pent up anger and resentment and jealousy, and I became abusive verbally, and I don't like being that way. And then with my second abusive ex from 2018 to 2024, he's psychologically abusive, so the class A narcissist, a degree in psychology, but thinks people who go get help are weak. Explain that one to me. Plots and plans, studies people, manipulates, gaslights. You can give him proof and he'll literally look at you and say, believe whatever you want. Or he'll get mad at the person who told you the truth so you don't get hurt. And then he gets mad at them for being honest with me. And it's a whole thing. My reactive abuse to him, I didn't really have any, unless I really knew I was right about proving something right that he made me feel crazy for, telling me I was neurotic, I'm a liar, I'm bipolar, I'm this, that, and the other, because he didn't want to take accountability and cheated. And I had the proof and he didn't like it. Well, believe whatever you want. Guys, when a guy says, believe whatever you want, that is the classic, I did exactly what you're accusing me of. Run if you hear them say that. They're shifting the blame on you. They take no accountability. They're gaslighting you to make you feel like you're crazy, and they're not going to sit and feel remorse about anything. This one was a narcissistic sociopath. And I had reactive abuse in a way where I would scream when I lost my shit. And I don't like being that way. And towards the end, and over a 6-year period, I warned him, and I warned him, and I warned him, and I warned him, and I warned him. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And it was in one ear out the other. If you do this, this is what I'm going to do. If you do this, this is how I'm going to react. I guess he was calling my bluff and underestimated me, and because everybody in his life looked the other way and never hold this kid accountable. He never had a consequence. He always got away with everything. And then he met me. So needless to say, he now has a PFA on him that was put in January 2025 for stalking and harassment, and then violated it in July of 2025 and violated it in person for stalking and harassment. His girlfriend, I mean, that makes it even better, because now, like, she's going along with it, doesn't think there's anything wrong with it, and then shows up to court with him to support him. Yeah, because I'll be going to court to support my boyfriend whose ex is putting a PFA against him. What? Make that make sense. What? I didn't have a lawyer the 2 times. He did. I didn't. I still won because I had receipts. I had screenshots. I had text messages. I had this, that, and the other. I don't need a lawyer when I know what I'm doing and what I'm saying is 100% the truth. And people made me out to be crazy and victim and, oh, you're just a bitter ex, until I had the proof. So I changed my locks. I put cameras on my house because things were going weird in and outside around my house. And as soon as I did that, everything stopped. So he started his shit again. January is spying on my social media. And then yesterday, the day before my birthday, had to start his shit again. So this time, I screenshotted his name in my stories, tagged him in it, and said, so-and-so stalking and harassing me again. I guess it's time for another police report. And I called the cops, filed a police report, and they are in touch with the district attorney. And where it goes from here, I'm not sure. But I sent screenshots. I sent proof. I sent screenshots from the past year of him and his girlfriend stalking me online under fake accounts, under user XYZ2597. And then underneath, you can see his girlfriend's name. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, this kid should have known. I pay attention to detail. I watch true crime. I should have been a crime scene investigator. I'm always a step ahead of this kid. And every time I've predicted something from the time I met him until today, I have been right about every single thing. And people are like, wow, you called that. Wow, you just said that a few weeks ago. Oh man, you were right. You even got the date right. Because when you study people's patterns, they think they're so mysterious and they think that no one understands them and no one sees. I see right through the bullshit. It's not my first rodeo. And I think it was one of the reasons why he hated me so much, because I saw right through his shit, didn't fall for it, didn't look the other way, didn't brush it under the rug. And even one time he was being so cruel to me and his mother says, just walk away when he's like that. The rage. I looked at her and I went, the hell I will. I said, my mother didn't raise me to be a doormat. So you could tell it stems from the family. So he's still stalking me. It's reported again for the third time. And the cop I talked to yesterday is in touch with the DA. And actually, I also got a call from the senator's office of Marty Flynn. And they want me to come in and have a nice talk with them to see if they can help resolve my issues I've been having, that enough punishment hasn't been given as a consequence, so to speak. And I wrote them a nice email. It's very polite, very like, this is what's been going on. I've emailed DAs, I've emailed the governor, I've emailed reps, legislatures, police departments. I've gone on my podcasts. I've spoke at events about all this. I even got screamed at by a chief of police in another jurisdiction and screamed back at him because he was bullying me. And in the end, I gave him proof and he came down a little bit. When I'm right, I'm right. When I'm wrong, I'll take the full accountability. But if I'm right, I'm standing on it. I'm not going to defend myself. I'm not going to beg for forgiveness. I'm not going to walk on eggshells. I'm not going to look the other way. I'm not going to plead and beg someone. I'm just not. When I'm right and I have the proof, I stand by it. So I have about 2 years of proof of screenshots. And I'll also be talking to the senator's office about getting laws changed for PFAs in Pennsylvania, hopefully a countrywide thing, where social media stalking surveillance is taken more seriously and there's harder consequences, and getting education on domestic violence for local police departments and just having stricter laws. Like, I think if you violate it one time, that's it. You go to jail. You don't get this. You can violate it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and then we'll do something, because by the time you do something, it's too late and someone's usually dead. So my goal, you violate it one time, that's it. You're going to jail for a year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If there's a proof and there's legitimate reason that you're making someone feel unsafe, you go to jail for a year. Now, we have this thing here where you get busted 2, 3 times, you go on probation for 6 months, or you go to jail. Most of the time, the first one, they give you a fine. The second one, it's usually probation. And then the third one, you usually end up in jail. And when I say probation, that means nowhere they serve alcohol. No bars, no casinos, can't sit at a bar in a restaurant. So I'm just putting that out there for those who like to listen while stalking me, not always watching me. So I'm making that very clear that it is in the hands of the district attorney right now, because I've had it. And this PFA isn't in effect until January. And my therapist and a few others are on writing a letter to get that extended because it affects my mental health. So I will give you an update when that happens, but that's what I'm working on. My goal is, and I know it might not necessarily help me in this time, but my goal is that other people don't have to deal with this. The mental anguish, the constant, I want peace. Like, leave me alone. Like, I broke up with you and you can't take it because you lost control. And you had a girlfriend who thought it was funny. Like, the two clowns, like, you both picked a winner, let me tell you. So I could say so much, and it takes all I have not to use names. Ugh. But if you know me, you know. And I'm not trying to convince anybody of what happened because I have the proof and I lived it. But that goes back to the reactive abuse. I understand why victims can seem and appear abusive. And maybe those are the words I should have said to an outside source because I don't have the full information or understand why somebody's acting that way. So I just wanted to bring attention to that. And if you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please call the 24/7 helpline, 1-800-799-SAFE. Moving on, there has been updates of Nancy Guthrie, the letters that the ransom notes saying that she passed away from health or an accident. I haven't really followed the whole case, and people have asked me, and there was so much going on with it. It was changing every day. I couldn't keep up. But then Nancy Grace brought everything together at CrimeCon to tell us what she thought. And so there's been some tips, I guess, with where she possibly could be buried or what happened to her. We have Anna Kepner news. Anna Kepner's stepbrother, who took her life on that cruise ship, was arraigned and taken into custody. And he is looking at charges as an adult, not a juvenile. So he could be going away for life. I'm not quite sure on where that stands, but, I follow Court TV a lot, and she was reported dead November 2025, according to Court TV and all the other sources we've seen, on a Carnival cruise ship. She was a cheerleader from Florida. She was vacationing with her father, stepmother, and 3 step-siblings. She had made reports that she didn't feel comfortable with him. It was on camera that he was on top of her, and her boyfriend saw it on FaceTime. And then they stuck them in the room together, and he ended up taking her life. But they found possible DNA that's not his. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that comes from. Obviously, his name's Thomas Hudson. They're trying him as an adult, so that's why they're using his name, even though he's 16. He did plead non-guilty for murder and sexual abuse charges. So that's that last update I have. There's not a lot, but they think maybe 2 people were involved, but he definitely. So we're waiting on that update. Alec Murdaugh's retrial hearing hearing date, I guess, is coming in July in Lexington County, South Carolina. So we'll be finding out when that date's going to be. I know that the county clerk asked the court to drop the charges that Alec Murdaugh has against her for causing a mistrial, and we're waiting on that. And what else? The crash has crashed out. I don't think people care anymore about Mackenzie Shirilla. I would like to call the Dollar Tree Kylie Jenner version. We care about Davian and Dominic, and their sisters are out there doing big things on the Big Sister Unhinged podcast, and they're getting laws changed and supporting them that they, lost their lives because of this little witch. And then she just got denied parole hearing for the state of Ohio. So kudos to Ohio. They didn't help her make that documentary. They did not help her case whatsoever. And I don't know what they thought they were doing, but all that matters now is that Davian and Dominic get the justice and laws changed so things like this can't happen. It's the Son of Sam law, where it was established in Ohio, and people can't make money off victims' tragedies. So someone like Mackenzie in prison can't make money off documentaries, can't make money off books, can't make money off podcasts. And if the money is raised, it goes back to the victims' families. So they're trying to strengthen those loopholes in the Son of Sam law. So that's what they're working on. So good for them. Summer Wells has been brought back up lately. We've been seeing, I know Brian Etten has been posting because he's covered that case since the beginning. I love Brian Etten. And there were some tips brought in that maybe they know where she's going to be. I think that's it though. The Maternal Instinct documentary. Let's talk about that for a second. It wasn't anything crazy to me. It's what's crazy is that her fiance didn't know she was pregnant, and how many times she lied saying she was pregnant when she had a hysterectomy and everybody knew she couldn't get pregnant. And then the husband I wouldn't call that true crime. I call that more of just mental health issue. I haven't really watched anything lately documentary wise. CrimeCon was a blast, so I came back and I kind of just took a step back from that. I'm trying to look to see what's in my feed because I do share things. Oh, how about the Travis Turner saying that he was that high school football coach that went missing, like Nancy Grace says, and he's alive and hiding somewhere, that there were tips brought in that he is being hidden, and there's a U.S. Marshals manhunt. So that's going on. Just go through here. The father of Harmony Montgomery, his conviction for murder was overturned. People are pissed. I'm pissed. That little girl, Harmony, you always see her on Facebook with the pigtails and the big glasses and the big little smile, and was killed by abuse from her dad. And then he carried her around in a duffel bag and then put her in a ceiling tile and then kept her at work in a bag. And his girlfriend eventually admitted to seeing it and witnessing it, not doing anything about it. So she went to jail, I believe, but less sentence. And he won't be getting out because he's like other charges, but the fact that they overturned that is disgusting. Like, it's just Ohio, even though I just congratulated them, they need a swift kick in their ass. And I'm from Ohio originally. So Ohio's Supreme Court just voted 6-1 to give people convicted of domestic violence a path to regain access to firearms. I'm going to say that one more time. Ohio's Supreme Court voted 6-1, giving people that are convicted of domestic violence a path to regain access to firearms. So they're not just dangerous with their hands. Now they're being told, go ahead and buy that gun because you already have been convicted of domestic violence. We trust you to have a firearm. That's what they're saying. So if they have the right to regain access to a firearm, then we as women and men who are abused should have the right to fucking bury their asses. Sorry, I'm not sorry. So you're giving them permission to go get a gun, but I can't kill him in self-defense or I go to jail. No, I'm not sitting with that. And I swear if Pennsylvania does that, I'm going to throw up. That's just disgusting. And what gets me is, like, I'm so happy that these states are following suit of repetitive violators of domestic violence have to register like sexual abuse predators. No, I don't agree with the repetitive actions. I think it's a one and done. You get charged with sexual abuse one time, you're in the system of Megan's Law, and you have to register for life. Domestic violence, whether it's emotional, financial, sexual, physical, mental, verbal, it's all abuse, just like sexual abuse, and they should all be considered consequences the same exact way. So as soon as you lay a hand on somebody, as soon as you get a PFA against you, as soon as the cops are called for domestic violence with proof, they should have to register just like sexual abusers. 100%, because the first time could be the last time. There's no more cases than not with domestic violence. Yeah, there's a lot that goes on for years, but there's also a woman or man got abused the first time and it was the last time because they took their life. So now you're giving them chances to increase the odds of taking someone's life. So I'm hoping Pennsylvania does put this law into effect, but I'm also going to bring that up to the senators when I speak to them in July. About how they should implement the bill to get passed that as soon as they're convicted, they have to go into a Megan's Law. Because we as civilians should be aware of who abuses. And I guarantee you, more so women than men are going to get on this website when they start dating somebody, and they're going to look them up. Because I know a lot of them who have kids do that for the sexual abuse. So I'm sorry, if I'm going to date somebody and there's a registry online where I can go look, I'm going. And I'm going to protect myself. And that's what needs to be done. So that's another thing I am going to bring up at Marty Flynn's office when I talk to them about all these, PFA violations and making things tighter and having more consequences. This should be another one. If you get a PFA filed against your ass, you should have to register forever because it just shows your character. And if the judge deems it enough to file you in the court as an abuser and you have a protection of abuse filed against you, that should be enough to have to register. Sorry, not sorry. So that's the things I'm working on because I'm tired of this shit. I am sick and tired of things just going in circles and people looking the other way and people kicking stuff under the rug and, well, don't say anything. You're just going to start problems. It's not worth it. No, it is worth it because when people's lives are on the line, and I've always been that kid in school who sat with a kid that didn't have anybody else at the lunch table, didn't have anybody to sit with on the bus, were afraid to ask questions, so I asked for them, or maybe afraid to bring something up at work in the group meeting, and I raised it so it was talked about. I don't care. So I'm trying to get laws changed. And you guys know me, when I start a mission and I set a goal, I'm tunnel visioned and I work at it until I accomplish it. So this isn't going to happen overnight, but it starts with a meeting and it starts with brainstorming and having someone hear me. So I thank them for giving me this opportunity and a box and a platform to discuss my frustrations, my ideas, and ways we can help everybody in the state of Pennsylvania and hopefully across the country. Other things going on, I really don't have any more updates on that. Just everybody coming on to my podcast. Like, I'm so freaking excited. I'm excited for every single one of them, not just one, not just the other, not just names. I'm excited to speak to every single person that wants to be on. And it's about them. It's their platform. It's their time. I'm just there to be a soundboard and interject with questions to help guide it along. I'm just happy they're trusting me to tell their story, and I'm honored. So thank you. Thank you for everybody supporting my podcast, supporting my mission, supporting my true crime stuff, supporting, me speaking out against domestic violence. Thank you. Because it starts with one person, one voice, but when we all come together to support one another, it's unstoppable. And to have that kind of support, it means the world to me. And 3,733 downloads on my podcast, seasons 1, 2, and 3. And I remember doing my first one being like, I'm never going to get to like 5. And it's not about how many downloads. It's about getting the message out. But when you see that many downloads, it means your message is getting out. So it comes full circle. I don't do it to monetize off of it. I don't do it to pay my bills. I do it because I just want people to know that they have a voice. And I just like to talk about things. I like to meet people. And if I can do that for somebody, then that's all that matters. So with that, again, tomorrow night I'm recording Candace Lowe, Saturday, Hope Hooten. Go buy Cheryl McCollum's book, Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer. Check out Danny After Dark on YouTube if you love true crime books. I'm just trying to think of shout outs off the top of my head. Go follow Body Bags, Joseph Scott Morgan. Go follow Mother Knows Death on Instagram. That's Nicole and Jenny's podcast with her daughter, Maria. And everybody else that you see me post, go support. Because I share them for a reason. And if I didn't, go help find Jason Landry. Go help find Allie Lowitzer and donate to the GoFundMe so Maggie and Joanne can get to CrimeCon to keep raising awareness on their daughters. Do something good for the world. That's it. Just do something once a day. Just one kind, even if it's just a gesture, it's a smile, it's sharing a missing persons flyer. Do that. And I made a TikTok video about sharing missing persons flyers. And I'm like, why don't people share them? Why do you just scroll by them as if they're just another post? That could be your daughter, your son, your grandma, your grandpa, your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your friend, your teacher, your lawyer, your dentist. If it came down to you knowing that person, you would want every single person who laid eyes on it and share it. Somebody said, well, they're not from my area. So I said, well, they're missing, so they could now be in your area. So you have to think in a perspective. When people go missing, they could be anywhere in the world. And you never know if someone's face that you post was just in the ShopRite with their abuser or the person who took them hostage and somebody recognizes their face. So if you see a flyer, please just share it. I don't understand the logic of just scrolling by them. I don't know if it's because people just don't want to mess up their algorithm, which is a stupid, moronic way not to share something. Maybe it's too sad for them because they know people who went missing. I don't know, but please just, if you can, please, even if it's one a week, try to help people bring people home. Even if they're not alive anymore, somebody may know something that's going to bring the parents some kind of closure. I don't really like that word, but some kind of answers and bring their loved ones home even. So please do that. Please. I'm going to wrap this up because I've been going on and yapping for an hour. I will post the Lala Clark interview with Candace Lowe over the weekend. Next week, I will be posting the interview with Hope Hooten, so stay tuned. And I have the list of people I'm going to be interviewing pinned on my Facebook page, True Crime with Tiff Kline. So please go follow my Facebook page. You can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. And then if you want to start following my other podcast, I'm going to have out there, it's called Turning the Corner. And corner is with a K. And you're going to see a big orange ribbon that says Hope, Humanity, and Healing. That's going to be my second podcast. And that's going to talk more about missing people, issues in the world, and just bringing hope, healing, and humanity to people. More of a lighter topic, than true crime, but I appreciate you all. We're going to do great things in the year of being 38, because today already started off awesome, like getting a call from the senator's office, getting a podcast booked with Joe Scott Morgan. The restaurant I do a social media for gave me a slice of cake this morning and sang me happy birthday. My parents sent me flowers. My best friend Kim got me these awesome gifts last night and went out to dinner. It's truly been a peaceful day, and I worked. So it was exactly what I wanted. I just didn't want anybody's bullshit or drama. I just wanted to be laid low because I was just in Vegas with my mom. So that for CrimeCon, I considered my birthday and like my 20th high school graduation trip. Because the last time when I graduated high school was in 2006 and I was 18 in Hollywood. So that's where I spent my 18th birthday. So 20 years later, here, it's just been a ride. It's been a wild ride of the past 20 years. Where I started to what my goals were then, to what I did, to where I ended up is like like, you can't make things up. And I do firmly believe everything happens for a reason. I do believe that you meet people for a reason. I believe you go through traumatic events for a reason. I believe that you have certain decisions you make left or right, up or down, and within a split second, it changes everything. But I think at the end of the day, it's all pre-planned. And I know, and I've been saying this since 2017, I've been on the right path of my life. Whereas like that synchronicity, everything lines up and you just know this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is where you're supposed to be. This is the mission you're supposed to have. And yeah, like I'm not glorifying the abuse I went through, but if I didn't go through that, I couldn't be helping other people because I wouldn't understand it. And the doors that it has opened, and trust me, I am not sensationalizing domestic violence. So please, nobody put words in my mouth. I'm going to rephrase that. The things that I had to go through to be able to walk through other doors to help people is the way that I heal and I cope with what happened to me. If I know my voice and my actions are saving somebody else, then it was all worth it. And I think I had to go through it. I think everybody's placed on this earth for a reason. And I feel like I really found why I had to go through such bullshit and trauma and tragedy and abuse. And it didn't make sense at the time. But now that I'm out of it, almost 2 years completely from all abuse, it makes sense. Because where I'm at today, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I have had to make a lot of changes in the past 2 years. I had to cut just about everybody out of my life that was there, just about. I had to get a new job. I took FMLA. I took 4 months off work. Thank God I had short-term disability. My therapist helped me get that. And I just relaxed. I slept. I slept so much that my body, it was just in fight or flight mode for so long that it was just like, and I just slept and I slept and I slept. I didn't go to the bars. I didn't go out. I didn't go out to dinner. Nothing. I didn't leave the house until I went home in November and December for the holidays. I stayed a hermit by myself. And sometimes you have to take that time to self-reflect. You have to be able to sit with your demons. You have to sit with your past history. Right? You have to sit with the thoughts. And that's the only way that helped me. It got to a point where you couldn't ignore it anymore. And I did the work. I'm doing the work in therapy, on medication, have a good job, have a good support system, have healthy hobbies, and doing things to help change the world. But I wouldn't be doing any of this if I didn't go through the trauma. So that's what helps me heal. That's what helps me go, okay, now it makes sense. Because when you're in it, you sit there and go, I didn't deserve this. Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? It doesn't make sense. Why? I didn't deserve it. And now I'm like, okay, I know why this happened to me. I'm not happy that it happened to me. I'm not glorifying or sensationalizing or thanking that it happened to me. So please don't put words in my mouth. All I'm getting at is I understand now. And I use that to cope. I use that to heal. I use that to be a voice. And I used to have a really big backbone and a voice when I was a teenager. Kind of like where I'm at right now in my life. That's where I was. And I lost myself from 2000 to about 2025. And then one day, the light bulb just came on and I went, I'm back. And I stopped people pleasing. I started saying the word no. It did not matter if it pissed anybody off. I cut people out of my life. Didn't care. I set boundaries with people. I told people how I felt. If you didn't like it, F off. I don't care. I did everything that I needed to do for me to protect myself and bring peace into my life. But I found people to gravitate towards who also understand it. So it made it a lot easier to talk when I had people around me that could understand what I dealt with. And after I left my most recent exes, these girls were coming out of the woodwork. And I'm like, well, where were you for the past 6 years? You know what I mean? Well, I didn't want to get involved. Well, maybe if you did. But then people are like, well, you wouldn't have listened. Valid. When you're in that type of relationship, you don't want to believe what people are saying and it's everybody else's fault. Valid. Now I'm like, give me the receipts. And I see these and I'm like, this is the same conversations I had with him. Oh my God, this is the same situations I had with him. Oh my God, the exact phrasing, the words, the issues, the arguments, the conniving, the manipulation, the gaslighting, all in writing. And I'm like, and suddenly I didn't feel alone anymore. The one before him was the physical abuser, financial abuser. And I made my peace with him. And a lot of people don't understand that because he strangled me and abused me for 9 years. Physically, mentally, verbally, emotionally, financially. And I made my peace with him. And I think the difference is, after a lot of self-discovery, because first I had to ask myself, why am I attracted to these type of people? Why do I keep gravitating towards, and until you can sit and ask yourself that question and find the answer, you're going to be stuck in this loop until you learn a lesson, right? That's what they say. So I had to do a lot of soul searching and be like, why do I forgive him? But I'm just, the other one who didn't lay a hand on me, I just won't forgive, and I won't make peace with, and I won't. If I had two of them in the room right now together and I had to choose because someone had a gun to my head, I'm going to go with the one who physically abused me before the one that psychologically abused me. If that makes any type of sense, which my therapist understands it, I understand it. Nobody else has to because it's me and my story. But I think the reason why I was able to make peace with it is because the one who physically abused me didn't do it with intent to hurt me. He didn't do it with malicious psychological plotting and planning behind it. He did it in the moment. He didn't sit for days and think of ways he could hurt me and work against me and ruin me and destroy me and lie to me and cheat on me, which he did cheat on me, but he didn't sit and plan it all out. He acted in the moment, and he had issues too. And that wasn't an excuse. We were also a lot younger. And he finally took accountability years after I left him and said, I'm very sorry, you did not deserve what I did to you. And this is not a poor me, woe is me, come back to me. It was, I was wrong for how I treated you. And I'm fucked up, and you did not deserve any of that. He sent me money to pay off some of the debt he put me in, went on with his life, doesn't bother me. I hear from him once in a while, and it's usually only about something that we did together legally or something like that, where I'm the only person with the answer, but I haven't heard from him in a long time. When I left my most recent ex, I hated men. I was on a war path. Any man that just breathed, I was in my man-hating era, someone said. And because I have a really hard time trusting men physically, romantically, on social media. And it's going back to what I was saying, the one that hit me, I made amends with, I accepted, I moved on from, I worked through, I've made peace with. I don't think about it. I don't sit and think of all those bad things that he did to me. I think of the things that I had ahead of me. I don't sit and wallow. I don't sit in sabotage. I don't think of the things he used to tell me in my head. Because in my soul, I've accepted it, forgiven him, and used it as power to rise above. The other one, the most recent one, plotted and planned and meticulously was 10 days, working 10, 20, 30 days in advance to try to fuck me over, to cheat on me, to get one over on me, to hide the shit he was doing behind my back. He would disappear for weeks to a month, and then I would get mad. And then if I said something I was neurotic or crazy, I would show him proof of girls sending me messages, and he'd get mad and call them shit starters and then tell me to believe whatever I wanted. And I ended up becoming friends with most of these girls. And I have learned that it's not always the other girl. And I have to say, the ones that have came to me since I left him and shown me screenshots, shown me receipts, told me these stories, and they don't even know each other. Every single story is exactly the same. And I'm like, I don't feel crazy. I'm not making this up because my story matches theirs and theirs matches mine and all of ours matches each other and nobody really knows anybody. So who's the problem? And the fact that I got screenshots and photos and text messages and stories that were identical to mine just validated that I wasn't nuts and that this guy really is a piece of shit, a manipulative narcissist that's a sociopath, an alcoholic gambler who has nothing going for him in his life, uses people to his advantage, only cares about money, preys on vulnerable women, has a degree in psychology and thinks if you go to get psychology help, you're a weak person, has a PFA against him, and I won. I left a piece of shit that served me nothing in my life. Nothing. He offered me nothing. But I had to sit and try to figure out why I allowed that to happen to me. And that came back to my self-worth, my self-esteem, my perspective, my sitting with my thoughts at night by myself when all my friends are out partying, having fun, a lot of them using drugs and alcohol to cover up their voids because they don't want to sit with it. And needless to say, I don't have a lot of those people in my life anymore. But I took the time to sit with myself. I cried many a days and nights. My immune system had crashed from so much stress that I was in the emergency room all the time with these weird things happening to me. But if I didn't take that time to heal, when people are like, don't jump to the next relationship, take your time to work on yourself. And they mean that. Because if I would have jumped from the last one to the next one immediately, I'd be in the same situation I was in. And if I wish I took the time between the last two, because I went from one to the next to fill a void, to bury everything that this one did to me, because this new one was giving me everything I've been looking for, because he knew how to manipulate a vulnerable person and then used it all against me in the end. And nothing I'm saying is slander. One, I haven't mentioned a name, and two, it's the truth, and I have receipts to back it up. So it's not hearsay. It's not me just talking shit. No, like, this is real stuff. I'd rather be alone and single than be with a piece of shit. That makes me miserable and sad every day. I'm good with my own company. Like, I spend the majority of my time by myself, and I am okay with that. Once in a while, I like to have company. It just depends on what I'm doing and where I'm going and who I'm with. But I'm okay with just me being like by myself. I go to the movies by myself. I go shopping by myself. I go to the beach by myself. I go to New York City by myself. I don't care because I'm on my own time. I don't have to compromise. I don't have to be on someone else's time. I don't have to do what I don't want to do. I don't have to rush. I hate being rushed. And I don't have to give up things that I like doing. Now, I can compromise. I'm a compromisable person. I'm in sales. I know how to negotiate, blah, 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 blah. But what I'm getting at is I've been like this since probably 2000, when I just had no support system, and really just started doing everything I wanted by myself, because if I didn't do it by myself, I didn't get to do anything. So I got too used to it, I guess. I'm too good at it. And but it's actually a good thing, because I can hop in the car and just go somewhere. I don't need a friend with me. I don't need to wait on someone to say, okay, let's go. I'm going. See ya. That was another big reason why I never wanted kids, because I liked that freedom. Now, I love kids. I would date somebody with kids, but I just didn't want to be pregnant. I didn't want a newborn. Like, God bless y'all. But I got good with myself, and I know the intent I have with people, and my actions, everything's because I do it with my heart and because I care about people. I'm not a malicious person. I don't plot and plan against people. I'm not a bitter ex. I'm not a victim. I'm not a attention-seeking person. I'm not I don't know the word. I'm genuine. I don't wear a mask. What you see is what you get. If I like you, you know it. If I don't like you, you're going to know it. And a lot of people don't like that about me, but I went through a lot of shit, and I'm no longer taking shit. And if that makes you not like me, or you want me to stay silent to make you or somebody else comfortable, it's not happening. Again, I'd rather be by myself than have to change who I am, because I know my genuine soul. I do things for the right reasons. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for coming to my Tiff Talk, giving criminals the disrespect they deserve. And stay tuned for next week for the episode of Lala Clark and Hope Houghton. And if you want to be on my podcast, or you know somebody that does, because you or them are a survivor, a victim, run an advocacy, run a nonprofit, work in the true crime industry, work in the prisons, anything alcohol and drugs related, rehabilitation, or have survived that and want to tell your story to give others hope, that will be on my Turning the Corner podcast. And Turning the Corner comes in from, I ran a food photography and social media business for 10 plus years, and it was called Kline's Corner with K's. So I wanted to kind of keep it with the same color, my same K. So Nikki Schmidt, Gabby Petito's mom, and my friend Jim came up with the Turning the Corner with Kline's Corner, and for a better tomorrow or something like that. And that's going to be more for the nonprofits, the advocacies, the missing persons, the domestic violence stuff can go on both podcasts. The drug and alcohol use and overcoming addiction, that's going to be on that type of podcast, unless it somehow ties in with the crime. But I'm going to just try to execute that this weekend, so stay tuned. I have a lot of things going. Today was a great birthday. It was great. It was fantastic. I can't complain. Nothing else coming up. So stay tuned. The list will be on my Facebook page. Please, please, please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, chat, and refer me to your friends. Please leave me some feedback. Please subscribe to your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, Apple, the hundreds of others that are out there. Please subscribe. Please rate. Please give me a rating. Please give me an honest review. I take constructive criticism pretty well. I'm in sales. I have to have thick skin, so I can take it. I really just want to know the truth. And if you don't want to post it publicly, email me, truecrimetiffkline@gmail.com. If you want to have a conversation, hit me up, and I will gladly connect with you. So until then, this is True Crime with Tiff Kline, giving criminals the disrespect they deserve.